3-0 exactly. And this is a match I'm actually really looking forward to because, like I said, soO absolutely dominated me, and I want to see how it's done by a Protoss to play against soO. So let's find out. In the top left corner, spawning as the red Protoss player for Team Splice, it is Stats.
Beautiful intro.
His opponent in the opposite corner with the blue drones, also from South Korea. He's known as soO.
Also,
You know, he passed on the curse of second place to Stats.
yeah, he did actually, didn't he?
Yeah, so, I mean, beating him right now, I guess...
Did he just curse himself?
Yeah, I don't know, man. He said he really wanted... so obviously he's very well known for getting second place, right? But I am PvZ. He said he beat the curse and he passed it on to Stats at day 1 of HomeStoryCup. But that might be a bit of a disaster if the loser of this game is out of the tournament.
This bracket is so stacked still, by the way. I mean, we've got Stats soO, then Alaza versus Zest, and then TY versus Serral, and more.
Yeah.
Damn.
TY versus Serral is, like, incredible. Like, this right here, Stats versus soO, could be any grand finals.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then TY
it was a
versus
grand
Serral
final.
also could be any grand final. And then TY versus Stats could be any grand final. And Stats versus Serral could be a grand final.
I feel like they've all been
And
grand
Serral
finals.
versus soO could be a quarterfinal of IEM Katowice. So
Or, I guess, a winner's round 1.
It's almost like this is a good tournament.
You're telling me the later stages of StarCraft tournaments have good players?
Yeah.
No way.
Can you believe some town in Germany called Krefeld gets games like this?
Yeah. Ooh, you gotta be careful there. Lots of Krefeldians are in here as well. Yeah.
Krefeldians, is that the word?
Yeah, that's how they like to be called.
Krefeldsters?
No.
No?
Krefeldians, yeah. It's the consensus among the Krefeldians is what they like to be called, right? All right, we open up with a Stargate and a single Adept. Now, it's very interesting to see what the second unit will be. Most of the time in PvZ, when you open up 2 Adepts, first unit from the Stargate is going to be a Phoenix. And there we go, second Adept. The reason this is because you want to deny the Overlord Scout. So either you go Adept Stalker and you get Oracle first, or you go Adept Adept and then you play Phoenix first. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a Phoenix first. On this map, Stats actually has been favoring 2 or 3 Oracles.
Yeah, he's been going like 1 Phoenix, 3 Oracle for a little while, and he seems to always pick up like 10 kills. It's kind of ridiculous. Like, initially the Oracles are usually quite well defended, but then all of a sudden they swoop in later, and then the Phoenix lifts up the Queen, and then the Oracles go to town.
Yeah.
And he's really good at control. Like, he just simply always gets at least a couple kills here and there.
Yeah, I have no clue how he does it. He also hides the 2 Adepts at the, what is it, the 6 o'clock. Can we have a look at that? The 6 o'clock base, Mapu? 6 o'clock, it's down. That 1 to the left. 1 base to the left. That one. That's where he usually hides the Adepts. Then he goes into the 3rd. Then the Oracles fly towards the natural of soO. And then, bam, he'll try to do some damage there with his Oracles. He's done this 3-4 times. And even though the Zergs are aware of exactly what's about to happen, they still lose a lot of workers. And I don't actually think that has anything to do with the Zergs being bad, but I think it has to do with Stats' insane control.
Well, gonna hopefully see a bit of that soon. Overlord gets denied. I'm just waiting for another Oracle to pop out here. On C's side of things, Ling Speed gonna finish up, and he hasn't really made any choices just yet as to what he wants to do in the game.
So, one thing we noticed from soO, and he said it in one of the interviews as well after he won, is that he's not very comfortable apparently playing super late game. He likes to sit, he likes to sit around on mid-game units for quite some time. Now, I'm curious to see how he's going to approach this series, because Stats is just one of those players who's really hard to beat, right? Like, he just simply stays alive for a very long time. I'm really curious to see. So what did he do in the series against you, for example? Was it mostly
mid-game attacks every single time?
Okay, yeah.
Just never really moved past layer unless he was so far ahead that I was dead anyway. Okay, so actually only gets a single kill with this Oracle so far. The 2 Adepts are moving out. Oh, he changed it up. Goes to a different side. But there's creep here already, so...
And Ling's coming in as well, gonna get a bit of damage already. Adept should be able to shade away, but again, bruised and battered so far.
Yeah, it's actually still quite painful, though. The Queens were sleeping on the job for a little bit. That means a couple drones will go down. Do you think that's a good trade, though? 3 drones right here for 2 Adepts? I'm not sure. This hurts, though. Look, this is what he does every time. Like, that's already, like... Ooh, that's a big loss.
I actually think this is very fine for soO. Because soO right now, after seeing this many Oracles and seeing the sacrificing of the Adepts, knows he can drone up. He probably will go to the drone count he wants. We don't know what drone count that is. He could stay at 67 or he can go up to 75, but he basically just got the free pass. Like, hey buddy, you're allowed to drone up to whatever drone count you want. And I think he will do that. I mean, he's already at 61 workers against 49. So yeah, it's annoying that he lost a couple of workers, but there is no Archon drop follow-up, so he doesn't really need to produce units.
That Hydra Net Dan going to finish up a Bane Nest as well. So going straight into Hydra Ling Bane as the choice here. Is that something you use against you as well? Just aggressive Hydra Ling Bane? Or?
Yeah, kinda. The games are a bit old because I play like a clown, but
yeah.
Okay. Let's say you went Hydra Bane War.
Hard to get Hydras at 4 minutes, right?
Hard to get Hydras at 4 minutes, indeed.
Well, Feeling's trying to hit some probes as well, trying to get some damage done. And just a lot of Hydras on the way. Only 58 drones. He's making a lot of units now. Is he going to keep on droning at any point, or is he just all in right now?
Yeah, it's probably going to be that 5-gas mass Hydra. It's one of the things that a lot of the players have been doing lately. Obviously, he did get a Baneling Nest as well, but no Baneling speed, so this really does look like he wants to go for a timing attack pretty soon. Otherwise, you would definitely get the Baneling speed going here as well.
I really, really like the fourth base. I think Stats just saw that there's no 6-gas, right? He must have seen that. That's such a big tell, actually. I'm not sure if you should be on the map at this point, if you're being all in, but...
Well, there's no Hydra upgrades yet, right? Like, Hydra's... Oh, this is a bit of a gamble. Ooh.
I mean, it's like 4 sentries, right? There's not a lot as the Lings are going to come in, force around. There's the first couple of force fields. Already getting force fields on this side of the map does really good for soO, right? Because now it's so much less to defend with at home for Stats. I mean, that Warp Prism can only save so much as well. And the Hydras are picking up pretty much everything here. I mean, the Warp Prism micro, as good as it can be. He's going to try and recall the Immortal. Not going to be good enough. soO is looking pretty deadly right now in game number 1.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I mean, this map is extremely long, and soO needs to attack up a ramp. So even though the start was really bad, if there's any map you might be able to defend, that is this map. But yeah, it's just looking pretty bad, obviously.
15 Banelings right now available as well, and that's a lot. There's no Storm here, there's no Archons here, so there's really not a whole lot to deal with them. Nice funnel, I suppose, but...
Yeah, good force fields for a little while as... I mean, shield batteries are now going to finish. At least Immortal will get healed up, but there's just so little energy left on the sentries. One Baneling going to connect as well, and I mean, every Bane that connects right now is just going to drain that shield battery energy down. There's just so many Hydras. There's no way.
Hearthstone. Did that hurt, seeing those Banelings blow up a couple of sentries?
Yeah. This is actually a bit odd, because I think Stats usually is extremely good at scouting. And he, with his oracles, when he tried to do the stasis traps, he actually did see that there was 1 gas lacking. And if you see Hydras on the map, you know there has to be at least 6 gas, maybe even 7 gases. The moment you see no gas, in your mind, every alarm bell should start ringing. You should be like, all right, I get 1 or 2 cannons at my bases. I don't get any probes anymore, and I just go back home with whatever I'm on the map. Yeah. He could even have built a hallucination to make sure that he isn't being attacked. But I think the move out with the sentries was kind of ambitious.
You brought it up as well. Do you think that 4th hatchery had anything to do with it? Because normally you don't really go for the 4th hatch that quick. So maybe you saw the 4th hatch and you figured, you know what, he's probably going to drone up to like 80 immediately.
Yeah, I wouldn't actually be surprised, especially because the way that Stats played, it's very common for Zergs to drone up very heavily because there's no real pressure coming out of the toss, which is what makes his push so good, because it looks like a small push, but if the Zerg goes up to 76 workers, I mean, it's still a bunch of units that you need to deal with. So I like the idea behind it, but he does need to scout and react a little bit if he wants to deal with a soO that is this aggressive.
Can't let his guard down too much more often. Already 1-0 down in the best of 5. Do we know what the maps are? Is this because Tridos isn't here? We don't have the map order?
I'm not entirely sure.
Wow.
I'm curious though, like, he ended up losing like 2 oracles there as well for free. And then the 3rd one was hanging out in the corner. I mean, it looked a little bit sloppy there, right, from Stats. It's very difficult to obviously judge someone at this level, but soO just really didn't make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, losing the oracles always really hurts, right? And it's like those little things where usually the best of the best get everything they can, but they get out alive.
Exactly.
But then this game he had to make like a 3rd oracle that I don't think he would have usually wanted to, because he lost the first one. Another oracle then went down pretty quick as well after that. And again, you know, like Carsten said, that oracle kind of went down while scouting, but then it didn't really make any use of that scout, because why would you be in the middle of the map?
Yeah, it's an interesting game. He doesn't look as sharp as he usually does, but perhaps it's just you know, a little bit nervous. Of course, he is in the losers bracket, so if he loses this match, he actually will be out of the tournament.
All right, so here we go. Game number 2. We find ourselves here on Kairos Junction. Beautiful planet there in the background. Is this like some sort of space station? Might be.
Doesn't all StarCraft take place in space?
Well, I guess so. Anyways, guys, here we go.
Austin can't believe the level of commentary.
I mean, Earth, I guess, is technically in space too, so.
Whoa. Whoa, in space.
Amazing. All right. This actually is something that happened a lot to me as well, where soO will send a drone scout across the map. Then he'll try to hatch first on his own natural. And if he can put his third hatch on his opponent's natural, then he'll do that. But if you block in time, then he won't do that. So yeah, of course,
Yeah,
that's
like
all the
this.
drone move out. Now he'll just use it to scout instead.
Yeah, I like it a lot, sending that probe down to the low ground a little bit early just to make sure the proxy hatch does not go up. He's actually forced now to take the third base as well, so this is actually a really nice start, right, for stats. I mean, it's one of those builds where you just simply throw Zork off. It's not massive, but it helps.
Yeah, it's I believe it's a 40 or 50 mineral difference, just purely on mining time. But of course, if Stats sends an adept across the map, you might want to make one or two extra sets of links, so that also cuts into your drone count. So yeah, it's very good. However, an early scout like this, if you compare it to a no scout, is also rather expensive, actually like 200 or 250 mineral. But if you compare the gate scout to a pylon scout, the difference is rather small, only 60 or 70 mineral. So if you're planning on gate scouting on a small map, it's actually better to go pylon scout and block the natural of the Zerg. Yeah, we learned a little something here.
One day I'm going to be on like the final question of who wants to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
And the question is going to be like, what's the difference between a pylon scout and a gateway scout when it comes to the mineral count? And I'll remember this conversation.
Fantastic.
I'll split it with you.
I like that, Loco. You have plenty of YouTube money because you're the biggest StarCraft YouTuber.
There you go again.
The pylon's still up. The Ling's just on the way out now. Be able to clean that up, give access to the natural. Robo first here from Stats this time around.
Yeah, soO should be able to scout that with his drone. Right? He
Yeah.
did. He did just now. Yeah.
One of the benefits of having that drone super early on is he's going to take an extractor as well.
You know what's funny? That Risky, before this tournament, told me that drone scouting is really, really sick
Yeah.
in PvP. And we all made a little bit of fun for him. Come on, man, like drone scout. How can that even be good?
Yeah.
And then soO plays it every single game and absolutely destroys me. I was like, perhaps not too bad.
Dark's been doing it a lot as well, right?
Yeah, but most of the time, Dark, it felt like he did it earlier to get the hatch first block rather than the third hatch as a block. So
Right.
slightly different. But yeah, it's a lot of the builds of Protoss, they don't work as well when you have to delay your Nexus. So even though it's not actually that much worse, it just doesn't line up as nicely. I'm not exactly sure how that works. I didn't do my research as properly as into the scouting there, but it feels very weird. Maybe we just need to change it a little bit.
Yeah.
All-in seem a lot harder after your natural gets blocked. So,
It's like a couple things like the gases and whatnot are timed a little bit differently.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything just sort of gets messed up a little.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and also your tech has to be a little delayed, so because you'll be busy with the Zealot killing the hatchery and his drone. Yeah, I don't know. It's not great. It's not great.
All right, note to self, block the hatchery every game. Or the next rather.
Annoying. Oh, this actually is looking a little bit like an Immortal Hall into me.
Yeah, fast Immortal on the way up after that Warp Prison. The sentries continue to build up right now as well. Warp Gate will be done soon, so we'll see exactly what gets done. He takes one of the gases on the natural, which is a bit weird, right? Rather than taking both of them, so maybe.
This is the build that Stats does is usually a 3-gate Immortal in, and then as he moves out, he takes his fourth gas. And he does this because he wants to hit rather tightly. And then if he realizes he can't kill his opponent, he mines from his fourth gas, gets a Forge and a Twilight Council, and gets
Transitions.
continues Immortal production, and then does some 2-base push. He played that build against Lambo yesterday, and that was the only game that Lambo actually won in their series. But you need to, the thing as Zerk is you need to first realize there's an Immortal link coming in, and then you need to realize, hey, he's transitioning. I also need to get a higher drone count, probably get a Baneling Nest for that as well, because it's going to be such a Zealot-heavy army, even though he's on 4 gas, that Banelings are absolutely necessary if he goes into charge and Fort. So yeah, here's the 4th gas after all the gates go down, after the Immortals are built. And yeah, he should be moving out with this, and he actually is looking for a kill for this, but only if he believes he can't get a kill, he will go back.
Okay. So soO is actually playing this out smartly as well, though. Not over-droning. Stopped droning at about 44 here, just made another structure, but he's at the very least playing very, very conservatively. It was actually on the same map as well, right, from Lambo. Lambo basically just danced him around and never really gave him the engagement.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's what he's probably going to look for here as well. So it's just going to be Roach, Ravager, Zergling here against an Immortal Century-based army. So he's looking right now if there's like a third base coming or something along those lines.
He missed the
Didn't
move
actually
out.
see it, yeah.
Okay,
It's really painful.
He was making non-stop army anyway, should be okay.
Yeah.
Does soO have a layer yet? No. Okay, so this is an extreme read by soO actually that he managed to do this. Like this is a hard counter, same drone count, no layer. Like this is as good as it gets for soO basically. Stats should be able to realize that there's no way that he's going to be able to push in here, and he should continue pro production, throw down a Forge and a Twilight.
He's getting the Zerglings across right now, trying to go for the wraparound.
It's going to be pretty dangerous as we have, of course, only so many force fields available. And here we go. Already them being placed down the left side. The Ravager's going to look for some corrosive bars. There's not a lot of space for stats to split around in. And it feels like soO is doing a pretty good job of this to get started.
Yeah, really good engagement right here for soO, absolutely shutting this down. He didn't get the Prism here, so that's a bit of an issue, obviously, but he's still looking very strong, producing a lot of roaches, and just simply fighting on creep is huge. It just allows these units to just engage so much easier.
I'm actually surprised how many force fields Stats still has left. This is like 6-7 force fields. He still has all 3 Immortals as well. It felt like the engagement was going so extremely well for soO, but Stats doesn't seem to be in too bad of a position, right? I mean, he can stand in this area for a long time, force out a lot of units. It seems like it's difficult for soO to engage into this. And now Stats is doing the thing I was mentioning earlier, where he starts transitioning, gets that Forge, gets that Twilight. And if soO doesn't realize this and stays on layer tech, no Baneling Nest, he's actually going to be in a little bit of trouble.
Lings across the map, but there is, of course, an Adept in the wall. A couple more warping in to help turn this around. And Stats is repositioning his main army at the same time. If he can get on top of that ramp and then force field soO down into the third base, that would be really bad. But soO's creep going to give him the warning he needs, and he's able to rotate his own army over. No problem. Cybercore will go down here. So opens the wall just a little bit further.
I think you're right though, Arslan, because he kind of needs to transition as well towards an Evolution Chamber and a Lair, right? Because he's still at Hatchery Tech right now. Going for a counterattack and pushing into this Protoss army, I don't think that's really going to happen, and he's still making non-stop units. Do you just take a third base here if you're Protoss, or do you expect this push right here from Zerg?
Well, I think what Stats wants to do is he actually wants to make him believe he still was committing, so you don't want to take a third at that point. I think once your charge and +1 finishes, or once you feel safe, you can take a third. But actually, soO's going for a big bust, and this is looking a little dicey, actually. There's just so many Zealots, but Zerglings actually managed to engage with a lot of the army of Stats. 2 Immortals are still missing. They're on the other side of the map in a Prism.
Yeah, that's actually really huge, and they're on their way back, but not being recalled. Archons are going to come and join the fray as well. There's still just so many Ravagers and Corrosive Bowels. Not quite going to hit that Archon before it finishes morphing in, so he is still going to get rid of the Archons here. soO's just pushing up the ramp, but the Immortals are coming back, so that might be just enough to help hold on.
Yeah, I think pushing those across the map was not necessarily the greatest choice here, right? Like, that was so much damage he just took there on his army. If these 2 Immortals were here, that would have been a game changer.
Yeah.
I think Stats was kind of hoping that soO would go back home and be like, all right, I need to defend against this. But soO was like, you know what, there's 2 Immortals in my base. That means there's only one of yours. And let's fight, bro.
Well, this is really nice. soO hits just before +1, hits before charge. Now those upgrades are done, but the army supply is already heavily in soO's favor. And as he streams units across the map, he's looking to kill Stats right here and right now. Already breaking down the front door. Has a nice access, has a nice concave to work with. Zaltov really choked up in the back there as well. And Corrosive Bowels are actually just popping the barriers on the Immortals already.
Never count out a couple of Immortals on a Prism, though.
Yeah, and, I mean,
they can do a lot of damage.
They can do a lot of damage, and there's still 1 Archon as well, so Links aren't quite as useful as they usually are against pure Immortals. I actually feel like Stats with the upgrade, the longer this fight goes on, the better it gets for him, as long as he keeps his Immortals alive. soO realizing what was happening, it's like, I'm bleeding out way too many units, decides to drone up, get a lair. I wouldn't mind seeing the Evo Chamber that you mentioned, Loco, and I would love to see a Baneling Nest. Man, Stats actually not missing a beat that starts his +2 immediately.
Yeah, imagine if those 2 Immortals were there earlier, right? That would have been a super easy hold. It still actually ended up, being pretty good there for Stats. But he still doesn't have a third base, and we're approaching the 10-minute mark, which is usually when that main starts running low on resources. soO, obviously, while he had the similar worker count there all this time, he finally went up to some additional drones. He does have that third up, so you can always transfer. So I feel like Stats really needs to secure another base here very quick.
Yeah, Stats really needs to secure a third base, but soO really needs a Baneling Nest and an Evo Chamber. I really like the drone count he's hovering around right now. I think 55, 56 is perfect for this stage of the game. I mean, his main is also running out. He's gonna be fully saturated on his natural and his third base, at least on the minerals. You're not gonna need to go up to 6 gas. I think 4 or 5 gas is plenty, but you do need something else than roaches, I think, against the army.
What do you think about Swarm Host? This scenario. It's like a low eco build.
In this scenario, it's kind of hard to get Swarmos because his creep spread is so bad. So it's going to be very hard to get them properly across the map. Usually in low eco scenarios, I would agree with you, but if you don't have any creep spread, then it's going to be difficult. So he would need to get a Nidus as well. I'm not sure if he can afford all of that. And his supply is already so high as well. So how many Swarmos can he truly fit in at this point? Yeah, I really would love to see a Bayoning Nest, but soO supply is very big, so maybe just Roach Ravager is sufficient.
It looks like he's just going to try and swarm stats in the next little while. Maybe when Roach Speed is done, he starts to go across the map, because I mean, there's no Evo Chamber or anything here either, right? So there's no there's just no follow-up to this at all. This is one big 200-200 push, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with you though. Like, just going pure Roach Ravager against like Archon Immortal Zealot, and he's probably going to add on Storm here once he gets the resources on that third base. It's going to be very difficult, right?
Yeah. It's going to be extremely difficult, and I agree. Like, if stats ever gets up to 6 casts, I mean, I don't really see a future for soO in this game. I don't think he is really looking towards the future. I think he's looking towards the next 30 seconds perhaps and try to win the game there. So let's hope that Stats gets his Prism back home and is in position on top of that ramp. If he's not on position, he's going to have a very tough time. But there's 2 batteries in the natural as well, and this position here is rather easy to defend if you have sentries in position. Please recall this Prism, Stats.
Yeah, needs everything he can get as we see Roach and Ravager starting to press through the corrosive piles, popping down the force fields. Quite a few sentries in the front going down quite quickly. Man, good force fields cutting that army in half just for a little while as soO trying to just brute force his way forwards, but he's being held off a little bit for the moment. Still Archons across the map dealing damage.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of damage there with that Prism, but I think he might actually need it right here on the defensive, although with more and more reinforcements coming up, I think Stats is going to be able to hold on.
Yeah, plus 2 Immortals against 0-0 Roach Ravagers. I mean, you have 7 Immortals with infinite HP because there's these 3-4 batteries as well, and a fantastic position for Stats. He had enough force fields. Half of soO's army wasn't fighting in the first 10-15 seconds. I mean, very good defense and an impressive game by Stats, actually.
Yeah, soO has been quite vocal that he doesn't really like playing that late game all too much. I think if Stats can just bring the games towards like the mid to late game stages, he's going to be in a phenomenal spot. Stats right here, or rather soO, also seems to not really want to go up towards Hydras and then Lurkers or Banelings or Swarmos or anything along those lines. Just wants to brute force his way with Roach Ravager and just hit the sledgehammer as hard as possible. But Stats is really hard to beat that way, though. I feel like he's always, you know, he's like Showtime in that way, right? Like, he's very, very difficult to beat defensively.
Yeah, it's hard to kill them. You might get an edge, you might get an advantage, but the actual killing blow is extremely difficult. Their control, not of their units, but also of the map, like the way they position themselves. They always seem to be in the right position at the right time. Like, I really was afraid that Stats was going to be caught while half of his sentries were down at the third, but just in time he just moves up the ramps, like, oh, nothing going on here. All good, all good. I mean, he has the 2 batteries as well, was completely prepared. I actually like that he didn't re-wall his natural. I think a lot of Protosses there would have rewalled, but then you can't move back your Immortals and Archons as easily. So I think it actually really helped with the micro there for him that he didn't rewall. And I'm going to go ahead and say that probably was on purpose. It's just the very small things that make a very big difference in this kind of defense.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. I guess soO didn't really have the resources anyway to make a large amount of Zerglings and go for run-bys and stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, Stats was at home anyway.
Yeah.
I think he was aware that there was no Evo, or he guessed that there was, you know, no real follow-up plan. If you see 65 Roaches on the other side of the map. So yeah, it's a very nice game by Stats. I like that.
It was a fun game. Yeah. Had a lot of different stages. You could see kind of the full process throughout, and it was a nice game of StarCraft 2. So we're going to be jumping into Thunderbird for game number 3. I
know Roddy has been asking everyone, but do you guys know what the Thunderbirds are?
yeah, he told me about it. I knew they were the guys that are on the, what you call it? The wires. They have the
wires?
No, what do you call the things? They're not actual.
What?
You know, they control them. You know, with the ropes on top. They're like puppets.
The puppets.
Like, puppets, yeah.
Yeah, puppets. What do you call these things that go up to the hand, to the thing?
String.
String. That's the word. As is the wire.
Dude, the English language has like 20 words for the same thing.
Yeah.
Like Dutch is pretty straightforward in that regard, okay? We just have touw.
Touwtje.
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 It's just the same word for like 20 different things that English has different words for.
Unbelievable.
It's okay,
I can't believe you made fun of me for that, Larry. That's rude.
Yeah, it's like,
how's your Dutch, bro?
I was just
he actually speaks really well Dutch. Like, his Dutch is great.
Yeah. Ask for Paper Munch.
Yeah, paper munch. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. This is interesting because now stats didn't actually scout that there was, and this is what happens. And this is extremely frustrating because you arrive and there's like, oh my god, there's a hatchery already on the natural soO, and then there's also a hatchery on my own natural. That's not good. I think what most European tosses do is they pull 4 or 5 probes, then they chrono boost the Zealot, build a Cybercore second pylon, and they don't take a second gas. Now, when Hurricane played against Dark, was it Hurricane or was it Trap? Trap against Dark, I think.
That was in the grand finals.
He built 2 gates, built a Zealot, and then went 2 Adepts very fast, and just killed the hatchery with the Zealot. And then instead of counting on getting a faster Nexus, he just wanted to do a lot of damage with the Adept. And actually worked out very well for him. But stats opting instead for, well, what I would call the European approach, and I guess the stats approach as well, which is 4 or 5 probes, chrono boost the Zealot, then start chrono boosting Adepts.
Yeah, the big downside right now for Zerk is that Zerkling speed is very, very late. He's finally getting some gas income right now, but with the 3 hatch before pool, it's going to hurt quite a bit.
Yeah, correct. So I guess that is why the 2 gate is so nice as well, because you can shade maybe 3-4 times between the 2 bases.
You have so much money anyway.
Yeah, you're floating a lot of cash during this, because usually you build the Nexus. But I like the way that stats plays it. I wouldn't have minded seeing a second Adept. Okay, yeah, he cancels the Stalker. Oh, now he cancels the Adept. No, I actually wouldn't have minded seeing a second Adept here, because like Loco mentioned, the link speed is so late.
Oh, I like that as well, though. Putting a pylon at the 3rd. The Zerklings is they're not going to be out very early. It's going to be hard to make the expansion. I don't know if he actually knows about the fact that the pylon is even there. He might be caught off guard with the sensor drone.
soO's had so many minerals for so long because he had a drone over there ready to take a 3rd hatch.
Oh, okay.
Like 600 minerals waiting for his pool to finish. So he's wanted an expansion for ages, but he's just saying, no, I'm not going to go take that forward base because that's way too far out there to defend early on with no link speed.
Having that drone in the main base is also super annoying. I think it probably got picked off by now by that one Stalker, but there's a good chance it found the Twilight Council and all that.
It's on its way home.
Actually?
It's gonna survive, yeah.
Wow. That's a drone with a story, man.
Yeah.
It's the kind of drone you want to have a conversation with around the campfire.
Oh, no, he scouted something that wasn't the Twilight?
Oh my god, it walks past the Stalker as well, and this guy's seen it all. First I was a hatchery, then I was an extractor, I was in the Protoss base, I walked past the Stalker, and I'm here to tell it on. Then he dies to an Oracle. It's
a sad story.
He gets like immortal, and he gets pulled in the final 4 seconds. Like,
can make a movie out of that guy.
Yeah. He could have lived, but he didn't.
The little drone that was.
Well, that wasn't anymore at the end.
Whoa, spoiler alert, I can't believe it.
Ooh, fast layer. 2 base. Ooh, what's this? Swarm host? Hello, boys? Spire? Gases. What do we think? 4 gas? 2 base layer? This is either
it has to be Spire, right?
Or Knight a Swarm host, no?
Yes.
You need 4 gas for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you can do it for 3. Can you?
I'm not entirely sure, actually. Like, the Knight Swarm is not that expensive anymore.
How much is it, Loco? Can we remind everyone how cheap that is?
I think it's 100 gas and 50 for the worm, right?
I have no clue. But the balance designers, if you're listening, perhaps
Whoa!
a little cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, Spire. A local with the calls, man. That's crazy. Yeah. 2 base Spire. I actually can't remember.
You make me sound so good when I cast with you, Arston. It's a great thing.
That's what I do. Put myself down and lionize the others.
Well, I mean, so how does the Spire play out against like the Archon drop opening, right? Because does it force it forces the Archons back defensively. Is that enough on its own?
I actually have no clue how this plays out, Wardy.
No.
I think the only person that has a good clue on how this plays out is TLO, because TLO is the kind of guy like, yeah, it's very normal. I scout DT drop and I play the Spire. It's like, all right. That's perfect then, TLO.
Oh, Ling's going to find the probe that wanted to go over to the 3rd base. So that's a nice little pick-off here by soO. He, of course, is just stacking up that gas, getting ready for the Spire to finish, the Mutalisks to be on the way. As 4DT show up on the 3rd there. Yeah. Of course, the lab overseers are around, but
they're actually going to kill that base real quick, though.
Yeah, where's the base? I mean,
there's an overseer in the natural, but there's no units on the ground, so he needs to wait for these mutants to come out. So the 3rd base is dead. I don't think I like this opener very much here for soO. I mean, he needs to get a lot done right here with these Mutalisks. And is that really going to happen?
There's a second Prism as well.
Yeah,
moving into the match, but yeah, it only has 3 DTs, but I actually think that it's going to be super difficult for soO to actually for Stats to defend against the Mutas, but the damage that he has gotten might already be too much.
Yeah, the luck of the third hatch, of course, and well, there's the Warp Prism going to take some damage, but he drops the Archons out, so Mutas are going to be deflected to go across the map.
Can you really send the Mutas across the map right now, though? Because those Prisms are going to continuously fly in. And I feel like he doesn't really have that much to defend against this, right? I mean, it's just going to be Queens and Zerglings.
Yeah, it's not really a great defensive setup at all, really is. The Mutas do arrive, and they're going to be greeted by a few Stalkers. 2 Archons are ready to come and defend as well, because he recalled that Warp Prism that was on the natural expansion. So that went back home. The Archons there going to be a big helping hand. And well, so far, Stats doesn't really lose too much at all. A couple probes. Yeah, good defense.
Super clean defense right there by Stats. And losing a couple of probes, but that's it.
soO actually continuing building Mutas and getting +1 flyer attacks. So this isn't going to be your standard game. This is a 2-base Spire into mass Muta. And I guess if Stats decides to react with Phoenixes, there will be some Corruptors as well. But for now, he's happy to defend with Blink, getting +1 and the Prism with Archons. This seems like probably this Prism should have been home already, no?
Yeah. What about the other Prism? Where is that one? Is that
it got recalled a long time ago, right? And still atomic.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
Oh.
Okay, maybe it shouldn't have been.
Hello?
Maybe this was fine.
It's gonna go down here eventually, though. But
got 2 Mutas for his effort, so that's nice.
That's pretty insane.
So you were talking about the cost of the Night as well, right? What about the cost of the Prism?
Also, it's 200, man. It's very expensive. Also, Nidus Worm is no supply. Prism is 2 in it. Can make infinite Nidus Worm. Can make infinite Prisms. That's a balance
Checkmate.
issue, if you ask me.
You got me.
6 more Mutas on the way, as well as a couple of drones. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I actually have no clue how this situation plays out, because this is the kind of game you used to play maybe in Heart of the Swarm or in Wings of Fury sometime. But it is so extremely uncommon to see 2-base Spire. I love this, though. I absolutely adore this play. This is so smart, because he's already preparing for a base trade, and I think that's actually what's going to happen, because we don't see Stargates. So at some point, Stats will need to go, all right, it's time to attack. And the time is actually now. soO is already on the map with a hatchery. A couple of Spines are going down as well. There's still a Prism with Archons at home, and I'm not sure. I mean, this game is very old for me. What does the army of Stats look like right now? Could we have a quick look? How many Stalkers are there? 15 Stalkers. But there's no Archons with this army. And there's no Prism with this. He needs to get the Prism here. Oh, what's happening with the Prism?
What do you have? He's got a lot of Zerglings as well, right?
It's 14. The Warp Prism's going to go down, and now he can maybe kill the Archons.
And now he can also kill the Stalker army, no?
Yeah, exactly. Like so. He's got a whole lot of Zerglings. Spinecrawler's waiting as well.
Yeah, the Mutas are on their way back home. soO realizes the opportunity that he has here. Changeling's being picked off now.
I mean, this army has no reinforcements whatsoever. There's Mutas with +1.
Is it enough, though? That's the real question. Because this is still 3-base Protoss, right?
Yeah, but there's no Archons, so Lynx are going to do really well against this army.
Yeah.
If there was 2 Archons
here...
here...
recall it, though?
Well, he should.
Better off, yeah.
Okay. Oh my God, man.
Dude,
you are 2 seconds faster than Stats. Unbelievable. Not only the biggest StarCraft YouTuber, also literally smarter than Stats.
Loco is a god.
Oh Actual god. Unbelievable. Stats, oh my God. Stats is also a god, though. Look at this. Tries to kill the tower, realize there's a proxy base accidentally. This is the kind of place that I want to be able to do one day.
Wow. Yeah, finding this base actually is really tricky, right? Like, it's so easy to just find that base at the end of the game, and then you're like,
when you press rewind.
That explains the 4 billion Mutalisk. So is he just going to stick on Mutalisk, though? Because the reason why I think that fell out of fashion for a little bit is, like, first off, the response with Phoenixes and the annual pulse crystals, like the ranged upgrade, but then also just the Prism micro and the Archons. I guess he's already gotten rid of a lot of the Archons and the War Prisms as well.
Right, so I think the Anion Pulse Crystals, the moment he sees Phoenixes, he will start building Corruptors and perhaps even some armor upgrade. But against the Archons, the bigger your Muta count grows, the harder it is to control, because your Prism just gets one-shot, right? And maybe you need Prism speed and 3-4 Prisms at that point to be able to deal with it. And it's a lot easier, I think, to control the Mutas than to control the Archons, because you can drop everywhere if there's a Nexus and stuff like that. So it's extremely dangerous. I prefer the Phoenix response, but I think actually kind of like the position that
He's
soO is in.
gonna do that right now as well. He actually started up 2 Stargates and then cancelled one of them. So I think what you probably want to do if you're Zerk in this location or this position rather is just counterattack, right? Don't even bother engaging the Protoss army anymore. Just counterattack if they move out and just don't let them expand.
Yeah, that's definitely the plan, and get like a big drone count, and then just get a lot of spine crawlers. Get a big drone count, get a lot of spine crawlers.
And this is like the perfect map for it as well, right? Like in between the natural and the third, you can make a spine crawler forest.
Yeah.
It's like a super old school build. I haven't seen this in a long time. I'm curious to see how the Mutas, or rather the Phoenixes, are going to play out.
Oh!
That was cute, but not cute enough.
But you need a lot of Phoenixes, though. Even with the Pulse Crystals upgrade, I mean, you can always just add on Corruptors like you were saying.
The sick thing actually is that he's already getting the Carapace upgrade for Flyers. He is so smart, actually. This is actually really sick. And he's going into Hydra Bane. Oh my god.
Is he going Hydra Bane? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Hydra then, he's getting Baneling speed, he's getting Carapace, so even he's not gonna build Corruptors then most likely. He did it because he saw the Cybercore research Wardy.
Wow.
Oh my god, he's so
So
good.
Man, this is why soO's IEM champion, I guess.
He's playing.
Because he's good at the game.
Yeah.
It's
I
so
mean, if
sick
you-
though, yeah.
I was trying to say something.
Like, how many games like this, though, can you have played at this point, right? This is a very uncommon strategy. I guess it's just a matter of practice, obviously, but it's still like...
I guess it's not uncommon if you're the one that always does it.
Yeah. So he actually does want to trade right now. Normally you want to go for like the full-on base race if you want to go full Mutalisk, but going for the trade right now is a good idea if you then switch towards mass Hydra, and that's exactly what he's doing.
Just like Stats is just not going to have... I don't know, I feel like Stats' army is just not going to be great against Hydra Ling Bane.
Yeah, I mean Stalkers in general kind of suck against anything that isn't Muta.
There's no Storm,
Yeah, no Storm.
there's no Colossus.
There's only like 5 Zealots.
Like 1 or 2 Immortals as well, right? Like it's,
Yeah.
it's,
Oh my god.
This army is absolutely terrible against Banelings and against Lings and Hydras.
Against basically all that Zerk is making now, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like literally the only unit this is not even good against, but it's okay against Mutas. Like this army is not really great against anything. Baneling speed is finished. And I think Stats is gonna get the surprise of a lifetime once he sees there's like 20 Banelings waiting for him soon. And the Impulse Crystal is actually putting in a lot of work on his Mutas. Holy cow.
But surely Stats has to assume something, because he hasn't seen the Muta count rising for a while, and he hasn't seen Corruptors being added in, so unless he thinks they're being hidden, which doesn't really make sense. So I think he realizes, and he is going to drop that Temple Archives down.
Did the Hydras finish group spines?
No, I think it's starting just now.
Okay, yeah, no, he finished it already. I was gonna say, otherwise this push would be kind of scary. You should be really good here, yeah.
There goes your proxy base.
What a game by soO.
4th base at 14 minutes in the game. I mean, the main is basically mined out. Natural's about to get mined out. Even a 3rd.
Wow. He gets 3 Phoenixes here? I think it was 2 or 3.
You know what I wouldn't mind if soO did here? If he just sacrifices the Mutas onto probes.
Yeah.
Stats is on such a low worker count already.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're just bleeding out Mutas. And I actually... It's nice that he kills Phoenixes, but I think it's even better if the Phoenixes stay alive, because they're so extremely useless against Hydra Bane. Sometimes you can trick your opponent like this. Like, if the Swarmos don't do any damage anymore, I like to keep the Swarmos alive because there's so much supply, and it means his actual army is just going to be garbage. And I think this is something you can do. Of course, Phoenixes in this high number might be able to kill a lot of drones, but if you're going to go for some kind of... soO is so smart.
There you go. He's gonna just simply replace as many of those lost Mutas with Zerglings and Banelings. And like you were saying, there's not a whole lot against Banelings right now. Now he's trying to get a counter to it, and that's Psionic Storm.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Swarm is ready to go, and I feel like this is gonna hit a little bit earlier than soO really, or than Stats really wants to.
Yeah, he doesn't have Storm just yet. The Banes are rolling through the force fields while there's a gap in them. And that means the Banelings are able to connect already. The Phoenix are going to lift what they can, but the Hydras in the background are just going to be able to do so much damage here.
Are there any High Templar?
No, I mean, no. I think they're warping in the first few now. He's just not been able to before now.
Yeah, that's really rough. I mean, it does kill the 4th base here as well, but there's already another base on the left-hand side as well.
Yeah, and the 4th base of this Protoss play is also going to go down, right? So it's really kind of... It's a tough little scenario as Stats is just down heavily in workers. He still can't really deal with this army even. I mean, he had a few High Templar warping in, and they are still trying to get the energy for Storm, but it's just going to take so long, and even a couple of Storms here doesn't necessarily turn this around at all.
Yeah, Hydra Ling Bane, absolutely phenomenal against just pure gateway units, right? I mean, there's no Archons here. There's a couple of these Psionic Templar right now, but there we go. We have 1 Storm, and that's, I guess, it. I mean, you might be able to hold on here, which is really nice, but...
46 workers. Yes, 2 base income.
Exactly.
And soO still has a nice little bank of 2k, 2k. Like he can remax. I guess he's lacking larva. What's the larva count, Kev? Oh yeah, only 2 larva. He only has 2 queens actually. So he lost a lot of queens to the phoenixes, I guess, right? Yeah, so he should rebuild some of the queens actually. I'm wondering why he isn't doing that. Because he's floating so much money.
I guess he never made that many, right?
Yeah, that's odd. He really should rebuild some because this would be a very sad way to...
to lose the game.
Yeah, or at least, well, I think losing this game will require a little more than that because Stats is literally mining 1100 a minute now, which is like a 30 probe income, basically.
Yeah.
So it's not the greatest. But I mean, if the fort gets up and Stats manages to kind of stabilize that, like, you do need injects, actually, as a Zerg. You can't just wait for regular larva production. Still might be enough, actually. I mean, this army still looks like old garbage. There's a couple of Templars, Landsome. These aren't decent storms.
Yeah, I mean, the Banelings are getting through towards the High Templars as well, so they're slowly getting picked off. They're being forced to drop a lot of storms, and the storms are all on the Banes, which may seem good to clean up the Banes, but there's so many Hydras left, and there's just nothing to clean those up. Archon's in the front going down. There's about 5 Stalkers, an Immortal, and 3 Zards with a Dream to try and take this army down, but it is not going to happen, and soO is going to go up 2-1.
Super cool game there.
Yeah.
I didn't think the Muta play was going to be that great, but in the end, it worked out really well. I mean, forcing out those Phoenixes, I actually assumed he was going to go for the Corruptors as well when he started up the Carapace upgrade for the Flyers, but then he's figured, you know what? If he's going to commit to Phoenixes, they're going to be great against Mutas, but not so much against everything else I'm building here. And he can't spend his gas then also at the same time on High Templar and Storm.
Yeah. I think if Stats would have defended with a more Archon heavy and maybe Storm army, in that case he probably gets Corruptors, but perhaps because he already had such a bad army in the Blink, he was like, Hydra Bane is better against that. So you kind of have like, you know, if he sees X, he does Y and that kind of stuff. I didn't quite realize when I was watching it, but now I definitely think that's the reason. Good catch there.
Do you think the switch to Phoenixes was a little too late? Because it felt like he was doing that super late.
Yeah, but I think Stats' initial plan was to do the push with the Stalker Archon. If he doesn't lose that Prism with the 2 Archons and that army joins, it actually is a scary push. At that point, there's 3-4 Spines, there is +1, and there's no Roaches. So it's going to be Ling Muta against, well, he could have warped in another Archon for sure. So it's going to be like 3 Archons, 15 Stalkers, and then you're fighting Ling Muta against Archon Stalker, 1-2 Immortals, Guardian Shield. I'm not sure how well that goes. I still think soO can hold, but it might be a very tough fight. And I think after that failed, Stats needed to recall home, and he just lost all momentum in that game, which I really think that was one of the key moments in this game of like, this is really where the game could have gone a very different route. But I mean, soO is just really on top of things, making sure nothing could have joined that army. So props to him, I guess.
Our next map coming up, New Repugnancy. What are we thinking about New Repugnancy, Harston?
There's dogs. Sorry, I'm not Harston, but I just want to point out there's dogs.
Which, this is the only critter you can't kill.
So we had this
AoE
conversation the other day.
Nice
Apparently,
AoE.
Mapu knows this. Apparently, you can use like disruptors to destroy the dogs on this map. I don't know why anyone would try that out because it just makes me sad. But you cannot target them normally, but you can apparently kill them with splash.
Makes me happy that Mapu knows that.
Our wonderful observer, he's been going to town on all of these games over the last couple of days. Oh man, I mean, it's probably even warmer in the production room than over here right now.
It's pretty cool.
It's actually not too bad right now, yeah.
Yeah, compared to yesterday when we casted.
Yesterday was so warm, especially when you came and sit on my lap.
Yeah, well, you know, things always get spicy when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always. Oh, here comes the block again. And this map, the funny thing on this map is that if Stats tries to do the pylon block, soO will just pick the other base. Because both bases are kind of okay. It's very funny on this map because we have a lot of discussions about what's better, you know, which base is better to take for the Zerg, which base is better to take for the Protoss. No one really seems to agree on it, so... I like the triangle base as a Protoss, but Drogo, for example, likes the line base. I know that for a fact. Some Zergs, they prefer the triangle base because it's easier to stop Immortal wins, but for a macro game, they prefer the line base. So, you know, what do you do? I don't know what you do. But we're about to find out what these boys will do, and that's nice as well, isn't it, Wardy?
So is nice.
This is such an annoying thing, though, to deal with, right? It's not even that it's like is game-ending damage. It's just annoying. Like it throws Protoss completely off the build, and I feel like most of the time, at least for like the last couple of years, it's Protoss that gets to decide to pace in the early game, and this completely puts that in favor of soO.
Yeah, it's very
super annoying
to do it. Yeah, it actually is. I want to be the one in charge, and then he just goes there, builds a hatchery.
Actually, I think stealing the gas here would be awesome. But
Yeah, but I don't think you can do that against stats because you can just put a probe there
Yeah.
to block it. So it's like.
Actually, keeping this drone alive though, like he can keep it here. Well, I don't think this is the correct move, right? He kind of wants to keep it around to see if he can see the tech structure as well.
I don't think losing it to the adept was the correct move. Big call there, local.
No, but he sent it
That's
back
why
to
he's
the
making the
natural.
big bucks.
Tomorrow's YouTube video is like, should soO have lost this drone?
Fantastic.
I did the caster thing. I started the sentence and I ended it completely differently than I was intending.
You tried to save yourself. You should have
Called me out. I can't
defeat.
believe it. Man. Gonna unfriend you on Facebook after this, Kevin.
That's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, I agree. He should have definitely kept it at the national. Take the gas logo. Good call. Glad we
Can't
had
believe
this.
you weren't threatened by the unfriending on Facebook. That was my final move.
The final
finisher.
threat. Yeah, it's all I had. All right, so soO did go for the line third, which is a little bit worse against all-in because Protoss can move down the ramp rather than having to move up a ramp. So it's nice in case you're doing some kind of robo play, an immortal all-in of any kind. And Stats is opening with a prism first. Actually, while we were making fun of Loco, I completely forgot to pay attention to the game.
Yeah.
Did he open up with a single adept or did he get 2 adepts? Okay, so there's a single adept still alive. Did he lose one already? Mapu, do you remember? No, okay, fantastic. So, yeah, it's, I mean, soO gets the scout. I wouldn't even mind seeing canceling link speed here. So you can either get a faster layer or just have a little more money left over because you only see a single adept, you see a stalker and you see a robo. Like, what's really gonna threaten you at this point, you know? It's pretty obvious to me that this is gonna be some kind of immortal push or a fake immortal push. And sure, there might be some 2 adept pressure, but you can deal with that with slow links and queens. There's only gonna be threatening on one base. I really would have liked to see a link speed cancel, but soO doesn't seem to be too keen on that. This looks like a very similar build as what Stats did on Kairos.
It's 4 gates this time around, though. It's a little bit different. I think it was 3 that time, right?
What do you mean?
Wasn't it like the 3 gateway pressure at that game? The game we saw earlier?
Kairos? He had like a ton of gates on.
Yeah, it's like 7, 8 gates. It was like the immortal push.
Yeah.
Yeah, but initially, didn't he like push across the map first with 3 gateways in the prism?
No. I mean, I can't remember. When he had the immortals, I'm for sure he has like 7, 8 gates. But initially, I mean, this is just with a little bit of adapt harass. I'm not too sure how the early game looked like there.
So
But
you just had it on 10 drones.
Yeah, it's a bit of a gamble. He hasn't seen a 3rd base yet. Normally, this is like the timing for a 3rd base around the 5-minute mark.
yeah,
He's looking for it.
he sees the sentry count. Like this should send off all the alarm bells ringing in his head. But he's not even canceling layer either. I mean, yeah, this should actually be extremely difficult to hold now. 54 drones.
one spine
layer
crawler
tag.
now.
Yeah, one spine crawling. Have you seen what Immortals do to these boys? Unless there's 5 of them, I don't think Stat's going to be too scared. It's only 2 Immortals. The 3rd Immortal is on the way, but he'll have to rally it. And soO is extremely good at keeping links in between the Protoss base and the army. He did the same with the Mutas, actually. He's extremely good at making sure no reinforcements ever join with the army. And he always is very aware of what is happening on the map on the Protoss side. So even though this is probably a very bad scenario for soO. I really dislike that he's getting road speed as well. I really dislike this. Another gas, 3 more drones. I don't think he's aware at all of what's happening.
Yeah, 3 drones here is kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
Because he should be making
Overseer?
non-stop unit production right here.
I think he's completely misreading it. I think he thinks it's a fake.
Yeah.
Oh. I mean, this is extremely difficult for Zerg to figure out, but I think there were a lot of signs here that this is kind of real. So the reaction confuses me a little bit, but
Stats is on a bit of a timer, though. He wants to push here as soon as possible. I mean, if he waits for too long, those workers will kick in.
yeah, that's the funny thing, actually, because Stats plays it so slow, usually making sure that, you know, he wins the game. But here it's actually better. The faster he goes in, the better it is. And
That one Pokeboy, man.
yeah, he's scared
It's
of
actually
it.
scaring him, yeah.
Oh, no. Stats thinks
my
he has
God,
low
yeah.
draw count. Yeah, he's getting Forged Twilight. I think this is a misread by Stats. He needs to fight. He actually needs to fight. Ooh, this is...
Zergling's trying to get around here. Zealots in the front, though, should be okay, but there's still so many roaches and ravagers on the back of this as well.
Those Lings don't know what they want to do. They're scared of the Zealots, didn't jump back on the Immortals
I think it's fine for soO, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I have no clue how soO won this easily.
Yeah.
He should not be pushing down this though, because I mean soO is just in a fantastic position.
I think the push is just a little too slow. Right? Like he's playing extremely cautiously, waiting for the creep to dissipate and all that, but now there's just way too many Zerg units. Most Zergs will defend against this with like 48, maybe 50 workers if they're feeling lucky.
God.
Corrosive Bow on the Prism.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's going to go down before the warp in. Oh my god, Stats is just dead. Like, everything's just going to go down. The Immortals are already on their own. There's only a couple sentries left. There's a few units on the third base. That's something which, of course, soO will have to go and deal with. But as these Immortals go down and attempt to recall, it's way too late. And Stats is in so much trouble.
Oh my god. I can't actually believe how well this went for soO. I'm extremely confused because in my head, soO kind of misread the game, but maybe the early game was so nice for him with the hatch block, getting it down, getting his own hatch in time, that he feels confident against all in. Like I mentioned earlier, the builds that are very aggressive, once you get hatch block, they feel a lot worse for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why it is, but it actually feels a lot worse. So perhaps Stats underestimating that a little bit, and perhaps myself underestimating that a little bit as well. 2 adepts doing some damage, but I feel like soO is just gonna kind of kill Stats. There's a single Immortal, there's no Prism, there's a couple of sentries.
He actually just lost like 7 drones though to like 2 adepts. So this is actually becoming a push that is very committed, but I think you're right. Like there's just not a lot of Immortals left over, right? He lost like 3 on the retreat. Tried to recall them, but it didn't happen.